it's time to break down the Han Solo teaser trailer and the Super Bowl TV spot. And if you are telling me how likely it is that I'm going to get any of this speculation correct, I don't want you to tell me the odds.
How you get so big getting food of this kind?
Alright, so this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to take us through the teaser trailer, and at different points, I'm going to stop and then go back and reference part of the TV spot. Okay, so here I have the teaser, so let's get started. Of course, that's a very strong opening. Pulls you right in with the kind of sound effect instead of music kind of thing. I feel like so often in trailers, you know, they begin with silence or dialogue or music, but this one was just kind of like this rhythmic sequence of switches. And obviously, you know, you're pulled right in because it's the Falcon and it's probably Han and all this stuff is going on. I love the music in this,
since I was 10.
and what I love about the music in this is it still sounds like Star Wars. It sounds like a Star Wars theme just being played on a guitar, which is, to me, what is strongest about these trailers overall that you're going to see is it's the familiar in a different casing, and that's what has me excited about Solo. But I'm gonna let this play through so we can get Han's dialogue.
Street since I was 10. I was kicked out of the flight academy for having a mind of my own.
I've seen some people online express some confusion there, but this is actually a really cool element to Legends if you're unfamiliar with it. It's been a thing since Han Solo books were being written that Han was in the Imperial Academy and he left. If I'm remembering correctly, he left because he freed Chewbacca. Now, I don't know that this is going to involve Han rescuing Chewbacca as a Wookiee slave or not. That didn't really seem to come up in the trailer at all, but him having been in the Empire before totally tracks. And again, it's going to tie into another thing I'm going to mention as we go on. Presumably, if he was running around scamming people for years and then joined the Imperial Academy, he probably joined it because someone wanted to, because someone wanted him to pick up some discipline. But then he got kicked out for, quote, having a mind of his own. Now, I want to address these images here because there's a lot going on. I'm going to hit on some things that you've probably seen on Twitter, but I don't want to dwell on those too long. So here, you know, I've seen that these lights are very reminiscent to a particular type of car. Of course, if you look, hold on, there's a better shot. Here, these are, of course, the dice that end up on the Falcon, which end up in The Last Jedi. Obviously, the only logical conclusion is that Luke is already using the Force to project Force die into the car. Only logical conclusion. Here, also, we have Han and what appears to be the character of Kira hanging out, driving real fast. I kind of wonder if this is a time in Han's past where this is kind of like the inciting incident where Guardians would force him into Imperial service, or he would get caught by the Imperials and would have to join Imperial service, or if this is the inciting incident that gets him kicked out of the Empire. Either way, he is definitely being chased by Imperials. If you look here, this guy is 100% a type of Stormtrooper. I think I've been seeing the title Mud Troopers. 100% a Stormtrooper. So he's getting chased by the Empire here. So like I said, this is either going to cause him to get caught and then conscripted into the Empire, or what gets him kicked out. I also really want to know what this planet is. So Han Solo is a Corellian. He is from the planet Corellia. This could be Corellia, maybe? It doesn't look like how I remember Corellia looking in Legends, but I could be wrong, and it also doesn't matter how Corellia looked in Legends. It could still be Corellia. It appears, it looks like water all around here, and there's certainly a lot of water here. I don't think that's smoke, I think that's steam. So they're in a very wet world wherever they are. Here, we are in Lord of the Rings. It's the only thing I can kind of think of. Here, I want to point something out. So here we have Han in a very wonderful fur coat, which appears to be either the same or a similar fur coat to what Mr. Lando Calrissian is wearing in the TV spot. So I don't know if this means that Han steals Lando's coat when he takes the Falcon, or if this is just the style, but I think it looks very similar. I think this one looks a little bit more ragged, a little bit more hairy, but still. Also interesting, we're on a mountaintop, so I'm kind of curious if we're on a snow planet here, or if we are on the mountain tops of a planet. I think it's possible we're gonna see, like, one of the first, if not the first, multiple biomed planet. Of course, here's an image you've seen a lot of. It's the newest meme, the clean Millennium Falcon, which might be problematic to some of you because the idea is that the Millennium Falcon is super, super old. There is a Millennium Falcon scene in Revenge of the Sith, but regardless of age of the ship, it can still be clean. Its current owner, who's should be Lando, would probably take care of it. Now, that said, it's been my hope for this movie that Lando would actually own the Falcon for, like, all of 5 minutes before Han gets it, and that would be part of why Lando's still kind of sore about losing it, but that's just my own personal fan theory. The way this is looking, I'm not sure it's going to turn out that way. So here, of course, appears to be the moment where Han meets the Millennium Falcon. There's really not a whole lot I can say about this, other than I'm sure it's going to be amazing and nostalgic on screen. But I don't really know a whole lot that I can speculate out of it, other than we're looking at it in a very dark, dusty location. I really want to know who these people are. Are these people guards? Are these people Han knows? You know, what is going on here exactly? Here we're on a beach. It could be a beach planet. Again, if we're going off of old Star Wars rules, this would be a separate planet from any planet we've seen. That said, there's mountains back here, and they're kind of misty, and those other mountains were kind of misty, so maybe there's a planet that has multiple biomes, like I said. We have this one really super random tower, and then things that almost look like moisture evaporators from New Hope, but probably not. Really curious to know what that structure is. These look to be cliffs, so it could be a tower that moves things from, like, a top of the cliff down to the water, kind of a thing. Here we have Woody Harrelson. We have Woody. He's in this very strange place with these very strange symbols on these rocks that appear to be made by people. We have Woody saying he's putting together a crew. So a lot of people are assuming this is going to be a heist movie. There's a lot in this that lends some credibility to that. So here, though, Han is presumably not in the Empire. So where this would kind of fall in the film, I feel like Han has gotten away from the Empire for whatever that is, and is now on to this other location. But I think that's going to be interesting, again, based off of something I'm going to get to. So I asked on Twitter, because I felt really dumb, because I feel like I should know who this is. This appears to be Kira in fancy dress, which is very probable. She looked a little bit different, and part of why I'm confused is, again, a thing I'm going to get to here in a little bit, but she looks like she's dressed like one of the villains in the movie. Here we have the new droid. If you pay attention here, you can see there's a dude moving here coming down off the dock. So she is not the only person here. Thought maybe, you know, she could be pulling a move or something, but she's not alone, so I don't think that's really going to be a thing. She's likely either just dressed that way or could be in a disguise. And again, when we start getting some of the stuff later in the trailer, I'll address that. Lando! I am super excited for Lando in this. I am more excited for Lando than anything. Oh my gosh, Donald Glover as Lando looks perfect. I love whatever is going on with what he's wearing here. He appears to be in some sort of, like, bar place that we'll actually see in a little bit here in a different frame. And look at that Lando smile. Like, that's the point where he really sells it for me, that he can be Lando Calrissian in his pre-respectable days. Here we have another new character. I believe this is Thandie Newton is the actress. There is a person in the Star Wars comics that she could be. So in the comics there's a character by the name of Santa Staros, and it's possible that she's another kind of ruffian who gets tied in with Han Solo, and she's a really great character in the comics. I've really been enjoying her arc. I feel like this is going to be a movie that's going to tie into a lot of older Star Wars ideas rather than rely too heavily on newer Star Wars ideas. So I don't think it's going to be the same character. I would be thrilled if it was, but I don't think so. I think that would be, I don't know, I don't see it. This thing, this spider monkey, I'm really excited about. You can see he has 4 arms, which is pretty crazy, and he's like some sort of monkey thing, and he's taken off some sort of coat. I'm all sorts of excited for whatever this is. This person behind him, I can't figure out who that is, so I feel like he's not super in the crew or anything. I think he's just kind of like a weird character for the sake of the trailer. Here's that kind of like gang bar den. Again, I think that likely Han is going to meet up with Lando here. This could be where they play cards. So the old idea is that Han won the Millennium Falcon in a card game. And this could be where that card game is taking place. Of course, we see our good friend Chewbacca. Look here! Look at his chest. See that little red dot? He's either in disguise or I think he might be a former Imperial. And here's where I think some of the plot could be coming around. I could see Woody as being a ex-Imperial who finds Han and convinces Han to be an ex-Imperial, or finds Han who's freshly an ex-Imperial, kind of sees a kindred spirit, sees a younger version of himself, and kind of pulls Han in and takes him under his wing. But I think that's going to be pretty telling right there. This was a cool moment. So here we have Lando and the new droids saluting each other in unison, which was super cool. Also takes me back to that image earlier with the lady who may or may not be Kira. She's with that droid, so again, I think that might be Kira, and whatever is going on is on the level with the crew because the droid's there. We have another kind of weird bar place. This looks like Diet Canto Bite. Lots of things going on. We got this cool singing lady with this weird thing over her face and this weird green thing in a jar. I don't really know what's going on, but I like it. And then, of course, we have Kira, who's standing next to some sort of strange person. And I kind of get the idea, like, this could be her seeing Han again after whatever the inciting incident was at the beginning of the trailer. So here's where a lot of things begin to happen. So here is exciting because there's a notion of Han in a shootout, which of course means we get to watch Han Solo shoot first. I don't know how you make a movie without a thing with Han Solo shooting first. I think having a scene with the shootout where he actually shoots first is probably better than a "I always shoot first" kind of line. Like, this way, it ceases to be like a fourth wall breaking joke and it's actually a thing that happens and it becomes a character thing. Okay, so when I got confused about the costume of probably Kira earlier, I'm confused because she's dressed like she's a part of whatever this group is. This group of beach people. Part of me really wants them to be the Knights of Ren, but that's just like so out there. But that's just, it's like Diet Knights of Ren over here. In fact, I'm gonna call them Diet Knights. So the Diet Knights of Ren are on this beach. And there's this person who has a weapon that also looks like a microphone, so I hope he/she sings a lot while fighting, because that would be cool. I tried translating this stuff up here because a lot of this looks a lot like Arak Besh. There's no real confirmation that it is. I really like this whole getup, though. I love everything that's going on here. But what's interesting is we're on this beach, but this beach looks like the same kind of beach planet where we saw Han and Kira walking earlier, and the same kind of planet where Woody is telling Han, hey, I'm putting a crew together. So what are they doing on this planet with these people putting their heists together? I think there's some interesting things going on here. Here! This part intrigues me. So there's some kind of fight going on a ship here, and then we see this cloaked, hooded figure. I don't know who this is, but this has a distinct bounty hunter vibe to me. This person has definitely a bounty hunter-like weapon. I think we could be seeing bounty hunters after Han in this, and I know there's been a lot of talk about whether or not Boba Fett was going to show up, but I think that's interesting. I think this might just be trick editing. I don't think weird bounty hunter is shooting, and then it is, yeah, or is that a stormtrooper helmet? I don't think it is. I don't think weird bounty hunter is shooting and then blowing up wherever the new droid is. I think that's a trick with the editing, but this is kind of interesting. This is like some sort of weird control room this droid is in. I hope we don't have another K2SO syndrome where we get to know a cool droid and then it dies right away. Clearly it's in communication with someone. We can see the microphone. So I think this is kind of like maybe a part of the heist gone wrong. Like their droid is the eyes, the man in the chair, if you will. Here is Han doing flying things, which is kind of weird, because there he is. So he's like pulling some sort of weird switch somewhere. Okay, so here's where I start to really think that this could be a heist movie. We have this big ship here, we have this crate of stuff, and we have people on swoop bikes, and the people on swoop bikes appear to have ripped the crate of stuff off of the thing. I can't really make out who is on the speeders, but that seems to be a thing. Okay, so here, also, we have Kira, who is like the only woman in Star Wars to really rock earrings, which is kind of interesting. Talking to Han, and she's all like, I know you. We'll come back to some of the things we flipped through, so here they appear to be talking, and they appear to be talking on that beach world, right? So when we saw the Diet Knights of Ren, they were living in some tent-like structures. Here we have tent-like structures, so I kind of wonder if this isn't on that sand planet slash beach area. And again, Kira appears to be showing up somewhere in get-up like them. So did she dress like that to get into this community? Did she get to dress like that because they left that community? Are they unrelated? I don't know, but I think it's interesting. Okay, so this shot. Here, this seems to be in some kind of explosion, obviously. This seems to be the ship that lost its cargo earlier. And this explosion looks like water. Like, that looks like water. I don't know how, but that's trippy. So I think there's going to be some kind of crazy environment or some kind of crazy weapon going on. What I love about that look on his face is it makes me think of The Force Awakens, when Finn goes up to Han and he's like, kind of a big deal in the Resistance. Han's like, you got a bigger problem, big deal. Women always find out the truth. Always. I almost feel like this is the scene he's thinking about. He is trying to put on some sort of bravado, and she knows what's going on, and she's finding out the truth about something. This feels like that scene to me, but maybe I'm reading into it. Solo logo. Okay, this is probably the Maw. That's what I thought of when I saw the TV spot. If you're unfamiliar with the Maw, the planet of Kessel, or the giant asteroid of Kessel, is surrounded by a black hole cluster in Legends canon. And this could be their version of that. Instead of black holes, they could just have a giant space storm, which would be kind of interesting. A lot of people are speculating this is the Maw. That was my first instinct. There's no proof whatsoever that it is the Maw, but it could be really interesting if it is.
Get ready.
This is a cool move here, if you didn't catch that. But here we have the Falcon and a TIE fighter. Doop! It dinks it. It hits the TIE fighter and throws it into the asteroid, which is pretty trippy. Also, while we're here, you can see this is clearly not the original. This is not the model of the Millennium Falcon that we all know from A New Hope. It could be that Han has made a lot of special modifications himself and has changed the Falcon. I personally think it's possible that this movie ends with him crashing the Falcon and having to rebuild it, and that's where the design change comes from.
Thought we were in trouble there for a second, but it's fine. We're fine.
That's a really loose reference to We're All Fine Here. Now, I really like how they did that, because if you're a Star Wars fan, you know what that's referencing, but they don't do the exact line. Here we have Han, Kira, Woody, Chewie, and Lando all hanging out. So they're all together at this point. So I think this is the crew that Woody is putting together. And then Space Octopus. I have no idea what Space Octopus is, but I'm really excited about Space Octopus. It's so weird, and that's what I like about this trailer and what it looks like they're doing with the movie. And the reason why I like this so much is, in A New Hope, when Han is watching Luke train in the ways of the Force, he's like, kid, I've been all over the galaxy, and I've seen a lot of strange stuff. I feel like this is strange stuff. This is the strange stuff he's talking about. So anyway, I never really went through the TV spot like I said I was going to. So let's go ahead and do that now. So the TV spot started the same way with the clicking. This is interesting. So this appears to be some sort of Imperial base. If you look here, these are 100% stormtroopers, and the stormtroopers are checking people's ID. This is an Imperial base on whatever planet we're on. I think it's probably the same planet as the speeder chase, but I don't know that for a fact. There's a couple things that I think are interesting here. This is the Imperial guy, and this is someone coming to sit down, but when we see Han Solo at the end of the trailer, he's not sitting there. So the Maw, in theory, again, with these guys, it appears to be kind of like an earlier model of the TIE bomber. So here he's going to be the best pilot in the galaxy. But again, look here, this is very clearly not the scene we saw earlier. They're not sitting down together. He appears to be dressed in the way that person is when they sit down. So I feel like they start this conversation here and then go to sit down somewhere else. She is just looking earth snazzy. She has a very real feel to how Kira is dressed here. And in a way, it kind of adds to this kind of quirky, almost Total Recall / Blade Runner kind of feel to the movie. Another thing I've kind of seen on the internet is this is trained as apparently a lot like a thing in the Shadows of the Empire game, which I didn't play. This is on that mountain planet. I think it's a part of whatever that ship was that was getting ripped off earlier. They seem to have some sort of mining thing. This could be outside of Kessel, to be honest, which would not really fit with old lore necessarily, but wouldn't necessarily be bad either. But I could see this being a train coming out of the mines of Kessel. More shots of Singing Lady. Okay, so here we have Woody fighting what appears to be the main person from the beach, maybe? It seems to be dressed like the beach person, so I don't know if this is the bounty hunter I saw before, but with a cloak off, revealing all of this fancy stuff. I don't know if this is a person from the Diet Knights of Ren who is finding them either sooner and that's how they get to the Diet Knights of Ren, or is tracking them down from the Diet Knights of Ren. This shot of Lando is everything. This shot of Lando is life. This shot of Lando could be the entire movie, and I would be happy. So that shot there with your name. This, I don't think, is happening around that Imperial guy at all. The hat is not there. We see his hair. I think it's possible that this is actually him knocking on the apartment door of Kira before they get into the speeder chase, or maybe just after they get into the speeder chase. This looks like the eyes of a boy who knows that he's in trouble with his girl, and he's trying to look really dashing and adorable so he doesn't stay in trouble with his girl. That's what I feel like is going on here. And then, of course, the best bro hug in history. These are my thoughts on the trailer and the TV spot. I don't know that I feel like there's enough for me to start assembling what the plot will be, but I think that's good. I like that. This feels like a teaser. There's a lot of things going on. There's a lot of pieces. I can kind of see how the pieces might go together. I just don't know in what order. And there's a lot going on here. What I like is there seems to be things that are referencing old lore and referencing legends without really, it's not needed that you know what these things are, but at the same time, it's there for people who know about all this stuff and get really excited. So I like that. I feel like it's going to be a nostalgia trip like Rogue One and done right in a way where it's not heavy-handed nostalgia, but just you get to kind of enjoy it. Right now, I think that's really the point of the anthology films, is nostalgia. So if that's not really the thing you're into, sorry, but that's probably what the movie's gonna be. There's no point in making a Han Solo movie except for nostalgia. His story before A New Hope is entirely unimportant, unless this movie changes that. So the only reason why we're here is for nostalgia. So I would say to you, if you hope this movie isn't going to be about nostalgia, you're looking in all the wrong places, because there's no other point for this movie to exist. But with that, I'm excited. I'm excited for a lighthearted, action-packed popcorn flick after the, soul-searching Last Jedi. So we're gonna have more thoughts on Han Solo, so keep it here. Make sure to like and subscribe to this channel. Hit on the notifications, because we're gonna start doing the Port Haven Streamcast. That way you can get a handy little beep when we go live. Make sure to follow us at Port Haven Forums, where you can stay up to date on different events that are happening with us. And as always, keep it real and fly casual.
Now cooking can be fun.